So, you have your songs are beat matched now, and you know how to play them at the same on the same interval, on the same beats. Um, and so now, what you're going to want to do is you have your one song playing on the left, and then the fader's in the middle. The song on the left has all of its things normal. The one on the right has everything killed except for a little bit of the middle one is up just a little bit. So then you're gonna want to hear dun 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 dun. Now this is where it gets a lot more complicated. It's the way that music is broken down. It's in intervals of 4, but also intervals of 8, 16, 32. And you'll hear the phrases of the music where it goes boom, 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 boom. And a good way to tell the time to transition to the new song is basically you'll hear the chorus. It'll be very clear when the beginning of the chorus is. Dun, 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 dun. And the beginning of the chorus is a good time to start counting. So at the beginning of the chorus you can go do, 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 do. And you can do 16 or 32, something like that. Here, the chorus play for do, 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 lights. We can just run those red lights. Do 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 do, and you're just listening to that song. Do 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 do. Then you play the new song. Then you start the new song. Something like that. So, like I know what I just said doesn't make any sense with the counting. So I think the easiest way is to know how the song goes beforehand and know when it changes. So if you know when the drop happens, that's a pretty clear, if you know what a drop is, it's when the big bass hits and it'll sound louder and it'll sound like the big exciting part of the song. If you know when that happens, you can do it right on the drop is when you can start playing the new song. Or you can wait maybe 16, then play the new song. Okay, counting to 32 is a little bit crazy, and no one really does that. So you can just wait and you'll experiment. You'll see what times work and what times don't work, and it's going to depend on other stuff. It's going to depend on the other variables as well. So because different songs are structured slightly differently with how long each section is. So you wait until that time, you pick a time, then you hit play on the new song. Now, you're only going to hear a little bit of this new song, and that's what you want. So it's basically still going to sound like the first song. Trying to think of 2 good songs for this example. Say you want to be transitioning between you're playing what is that song called? Party Rock Anthem, and you're transitioning into Red Lights. So you have Party Rock Anthem playing. Then you hit play on the other one, and you leave the fader in the middle. So you're going to keep hearing Party Rock Anthem. You might not even hear Red Lights at all, and that's okay. So, but what that just did is it's going to make it so that when you do start to hear it, it will happen at the right time, because you started it at the right time. And the right time was maybe 16 bars in, maybe 16 beats in, maybe just some interval of 4 in, or just some time that sounded correct to you as a time when Party Rock Anthem changed. So it was the very beginning of the chorus, or it was the end of the chorus, or it was halfway through the chorus, or it was something like this that's sort of on an even part of the song. And you'll start to be able to hear music in that way. It's going to be very weird at first to think about a song as like a ruler or something that you can divide up like that, but eventually you can just do it by how it sounds, and when the sound changes is going to be the easiest way to do it as a beginner. I hate the word beginner, but the easiest way to do it without wasting time learning how to understand music theory that doesn't matter for this. So you now have both songs playing, but you really can only hear Party Rock Anthem. Then what you're going to want to do is you just tinker with it slightly. So you slightly bring up the middles a little more and you start to hear it a little bit. You know, and if it sounds good, you can kind of do it a little more. Then something like you could do more drastically is bring up the highs, because that's just going to bring in the hi-hats. So that's something you would want to do on an even beat. So you hear, and you think, okay, what would happen? What would it sound like if right now we started hearing, and you think, okay, how about now? Boom, and then you hear those little hi-hats. Now, another thing you can do is you can switch the basses of those two songs. So you still have Party Rock Anthem playing full. You're kind of doing two things at once now. You're bringing Red Lights in, and you're also bringing Party Rock Anthem out. So one way to do that is you flip the basses. So you have bass playing on the left one with Party Rock Anthem. You still have no bass from Red Lights. So one thing you can do is you turn the Red Lights bass up and the other bass down. And you need to do it in that order, because otherwise you'll have no bass for a period of time. So if you can do that, you can do it kind of slick. If you have a controller, you can do them both at the same time. If you're doing it just in Virtual DJ or in Traktor, you kind of need to go back and forth. But because it's the bass, people aren't really going to be able to tell. Every bass sounds pretty similar, so you can kind of turn the Red Lights bass up a little bit, then you'll have two basses playing. You turn the Party Rock Anthem one down a little bit, you turn Red Lights up a little more, down a little more, and eventually you'll have the Party Rock Anthem bass done. It's gone, which is good. And you'll have Red Lights bass, which is good, because your goal now is to make it go from Party Rock Anthem to Red Lights without it's basically the polar opposite of those hip-hop transitions where it's just whoosh. It's basically, you kind of want to be sneaky about it and kind of ease one in and ease the other one out, and do it through those little frequency knobs that I was talking about. Or that we're talking about right now. So you, now at this point you have the bass of Red Lights, you have some middles of Red Lights, you still have full middles and highs from Party Rock Anthem. And this is where it gets tricky. Oh, you also have the highs from Red Lights. Because what you don't want to do is just kill a bunch of sound and have it sound weird. So the last step you're going to want to be doing is bringing something up on Red Lights, not bringing something out on Party Rock Anthem. Because Red Lights, how would I do this? What you're going to want to do is, so in this specific example, Red Lights has vocals in it. Not every song has vocals. Red Lights has vocals, and you're probably going to want to hear those vocals at full volume. So you're tinkering around. Red Lights has a really long amount of just before the vocals start. So this is when you're doing all these changes, and really right at the time when the vocals start, that's when you really want to kill Party Rock Anthem. Because I don't even think those two songs are in the same key. So it'll sound really bad if you have the vocals of one playing and the music from the other. You'll see how those kinds of things sound. If they're in the wrong key, it sounds really bad. So you're just gradually going to want to bring up the mids a little bit more from... How would I do this? It's really tough. You're going to have to just play around with it and see what works. But the general idea is you don't do drastic changes. You do slow changes between bringing one of them down and bringing the other one up. There's a few things that you could do a little more drastically, like if it's the highs, you can do those drastically. But you basically want to trick the audience into thinking that it is one song that's playing. So something like starting the hi-hats at full volume, that could be part of Party Rock Anthem. That's why you can do it so drastically. But something like, you know, cutting out all of the sound from Party Rock Anthem at once and it going to just the boom, boom, boom of the beginning of Red Lights, that doesn't really make sense. I mean, it's not, everyone knows that's not how the song goes. You know what I mean? And you'll find a way to kind of, it's really hard to do this. It's like 50 times harder than doing the hip-hop transitions. But you'll find a way to kind of bring one out and bring the other one in. And another easy thing to do is bring the highs down from Party Rock Anthem. Bring those highs down. Yeah, I'm realizing I don't really know how to explain this. But you're gonna eventually get to a point where you're gonna want to have the highs totally killed and the lows totally killed on Party Rock Anthem. So you just have those middles there. And the middles are probably already brought down a little bit too. Then you're going to get to the beginning of Red Lights when the singing starts. And you're going to want to totally kill Party Rock Anthem at that point. So at that point you bring the mids all the way down and then you're just hearing the vocals from Red Lights. So I think I said earlier the last thing you want to do is bring up Red Lights. I think that, no, the last thing you want to do is bring out Party Rock Anthem. Yeah. Because Red Lights should already be ready to go at that point. Yeah. So I explained how you can do the basses, how you can switch the basses, bringing one slowly out, the other slowly in. The hi-hats, I mean the highs, you can do pretty drastically for both of them. Bring the highs in all at once on one of them, and bring them out all at once on the other one. Or slowly. Those you can do fast or slow. The middles, that's the hardest one, because that's the one people are going to hear when you're bringing the middles in or the middles out, because the meat of the song is in the mid-range. And so that you just need to be very tricky and very clever and kind of pick a good time to kind of bring it out and bring the other one in. And the simplest way to do it is to have a song with an intro like Red Lights, where if you bring the mids up on Red Lights before the vocals start, you're not really going to hear a difference, because it really is only lows and highs at that point. It's boom, 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 and it's hi-hats. So if you find songs with intros like that, which aren't that difficult to find, a lot of Avicii songs will start that way. A lot of like dance remixes will start that way. You know, if you search like some pop song remix, you'll see they'll have those types of beginnings. Those are good. Those are really easy ones to mix with, because then you can have the mids up on that one, and then you just wait until the vocals to start, and then you kill the mids on the other one, on Party Rock Anthem or the previous song that's playing. And you don't touch the fader the whole time. You just leave it in the middle, because then at that point you'll have highs are already killed for Party Rock Anthem, lows are already killed, you kill the middles, and you're only hearing red lights at that point. That's my really sloppy tutorial on how to mix house music, which is really challenging. The mixing part is really challenging. And yeah, that's later I might talk about mixing songs in key. To do that, it takes knowing what key the song is in, basically. Yeah, that'll be a separate thing if I talk about that. But I don't think that's the type of thing that a tutorial really makes sense for. What was I going to talk about? Oh, so now forget about house music. Now back to the hip hop stuff. To do a transition with those that... Oh, I was going to talk about doing it in key. Yeah. Oh no, I was going to talk about doing it on beat. Yeah, so you can apply this sort of the beat matching to the hip hop transitions as well. So even if you're not going to do it on, when I was showing that example of how they can be at the same BPM but not in sync with each other, even if you're not mixing in sync, so to speak, like even if you're hitting play of the new song at just a random point in the old song, it still will sound better if they are similar tempos, similar BPM, sorry. And so when I am mixing between hip-hop songs, even though the transition, and pop songs, even though those transitions are sort of just shoot from one song to the other song, I do tend to pick songs that have similar BPM. I don't change it usually. So if it's like 1 BPM more or 1 less, with house music you have to change it because the songs are playing over one another. But with these, because it's just they're only playing over one another for a little bit, I don't bother with fixing that 1 BPM. It doesn't matter. But I do still pick songs that are fairly similar to each other, just so that the flow of people dancing, they don't feel, oh, suddenly this is so slow or suddenly it's so fast. Sometimes that's okay. You know, if you're going to play like Lip Gloss, it would not make sense to have a fast lip gloss to match the previous song. No, it's just Lip Gloss, you know? Or if it's like Pop Lock and Drop It, something like that. Like, those songs, don't worry about it. They are what they are, you know? Like, not that that's obvious, but from experience I can say you can play those songs, you know, Teach Me How to Dougie, anything like that, like, you know, Whip Nay Nay, any of these types of songs that people that like have a dance associated with them, you can just play them as they are. Yeah, okay.